Visualizing decimal numbers using models like blocks, grids, number lines, and money. And renaming decimal numbers to fractions whose denominators are factors of 10 and 100 and vice versa. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to visualize numbers using models like blocks, grids, number lines, and money to show the relationship to fraction, and rename decimal numbers to fractions and fractions whose denominators are factors of 10 and 100 to decimals. Decimal number, defined as a number whose whole number part and the fractional part is separated by a decimal point. The dot in a decimal number is called a decimal point and read as "and". Decimals can be changed to fractions and vice versa. Place values of decimal numbers. So this is an example of a decimal number. It is read as 2 and 23 hundredths or 2.23. So this is the ones or the whole number, and this is the decimal point. This is the tenths and the hundredths. Example of a decimal number. So this is an example of a decimal number. So this is once again the decimal point, and this digit is the tenths place value, and this one is the hundredths place value. So here are some examples of decimals. So for this one, it is read as 4 tenths because 4 is in the tenths place value. Or in fraction, it is 4 over 10. So 4 over 10 siya kasi ang place value niya ay 10. Next is 4 hundredths. So kapag ang nakita nyo ay 2-digit after the decimal point, it is read as hundredths. In fraction, it is written as 4 over 100. Bakit over 100? Kasi ang place value ng 4 ay nasa hundreds place value or nandito siya sa second digit place. Next is 23 hundredths. In fraction, it is written as 23 over 100. So once again, it's over 100 because the last digit is in the hundredths place value. Visualizing decimals using blocks. So dito ipapakita ko kung paano i-visualize ang decimal numbers gamit ang blocks. So let's say we have 2 tenths or 0.2. So first thing we do is to change it to fraction, which is 2 tenth or 2 over 10. So once again, kaya siya over 10 kasi ang place value ng 2 ay tenths. That's why it's 2 over 10. Now, let us draw 10 blocks kasi 10 yung denominator natin. There you go. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then next is let us cross out 2 blocks because our numerator is 2. So let's cross 1 and 2. So that's the way how we visualize decimals using blocks. So let's have another example. Let's say we have 6 tenths or 0.6. So sulat natin siya into fraction. It's 6 over 10. Kaya siya over 10 kasi ang place value ng 6 ay tenths. Okay, now let's proceed to drawing the blocks. We are going to draw 10 blocks. So let's count 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then after that, let us cross out 6 blocks. 6 blocks kasi 6 ang ating numerator. So let us cross this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the way how we show 6 over 10 or 6 tenths. So ngayon naman, let's proceed to visualizing decimals using grids. So let's say we have 24 hundredths or 0.24. So ganun din, write natin siya into fraction form. So we have 24 over 100. Once again, kaya siya over 100 kasi ang place value ng 4 or nung last digit ay hundreds. Kaya nga kapag binasa natin siya ay 24 hundredths. Okay? Kaya siya naging 24 over 100. So now let us proceed. So let's have a grid first. So paano ba gawin yung grid? Ganito siya. Draw ka ng 10 squares horizontally na magkakadikit and then 10 squares vertically. Okay? So kahit hindi mo yan bilangin, as long as 10 ito and then 10 din yan, you already have 100 squared grids. Okay? Why do we need 100 square? Because we have 100 as denominators. Okay? So now that we already have a grid, the next thing we do is to shade 24 parts of grids. So bahala kayo kung saan nyo gustong ilagay yung shaded part ninyo, basta dapat 24 lang kasi yun lang ang ating numerator. So let's start with shading. So let's have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So that's it. That's the way how we visualize decimals using grids. So kagaya ng sabi ko kanina, kung kayo yung mag-shade, kayong bahala. Pwedeng dito kayo mag-start sa baba or pwedeng sa gilid as long as 24 lang or kung ilan lang yung inyong numerator. Okay, so let's have another example of visualizing decimals using grids. So what if our decimal number looks like this? So paano to basahin? Again, it is read as 4 hundredths. Okay? Hindi siya 4 tenths. Bakit? Kasi yung 4, nasa second place siya. Ibig sabihin, ang place value niya ay hundredths. Wala siyang tenths. Okay, kaya 0. Okay? So next thing we do is to, of course, write it into fraction. So we have 4 over 100. At uulitin ko, kaya siya over 100 kasi ang place value ng 4 ay hundreds. At kaya siya naging hundreds kasi nasa second place siya. Okay, so now let us draw a grid. Okay, so kagaya ng sabi ko kanina, kapag gagawa ng grid, dapat meron kang 10 horizontally and then 10 vertically. So all in all, this is 100. Okay, so bakit siya 100? Kasi we have 4 over 100. So now let us shade the 4 parts of grids. Bakit 4 lang ang isa-shade natin? Kasi 4 lang ang numerator. At kagaya ng sabi ko kanina, kayo ang bahala kung saan ninyo gustong ilagay yung shade ninyo as long as ang isa-shade lang ninyo ay kung ilan lang ang inyong numerator. So dito, we have 4. That's why we are going to shade only 4 square. So let's start. So let's have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's it. Ito na yung visualized part ng 4 hundredths. So ngayon naman, gawin natin ang visualizing decimals using number lines. So let's say we have 4/10 or 0.4. So first is write it into fraction form. So we have 4 over 10. So kaya siya over 10 kasi ang place value ng 4 ay tenths. Now let's draw a number line and divide it into 10. So kaya siya hatiin sa 10 kasi ang denominator ay 10. So let's divide there. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So all in all, this is a whole number. But in fraction, these bars stand for 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10. Now, let us take away 4 bars. Bakit 4? Kasi 4 ang numerator natin. Okay, so let's take this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these 4 bars stand for 0.4 or 4/10. So this is the way how we visualize decimals using number lines. So ngayon naman, let's proceed to changing fractions to decimal numbers whose denominators are factors of 10 and 100. So let's have example number 1, which is 2 over 10. So kapag magpapalit tayo ng fraction to decimal number, wag kakalimutan munang ilagay ang decimal point. So ayan. And then, tingnan ang denominator. So since ang denominator natin ay 10, ibig sabihin, ang number 2 dapat ay nasa tenths place value, which is ito. Okay. So that means 2 over 10 is equivalent to 2/10. Next, for example, number 2, we have 2 over 100. So once again, huwag kakalimutan ang decimal point. And then, look at the denominator. So since ang denominator natin ay 100, ibig sabihin, ang 2 dapat ay nasa hundreds place value. So ito yung tenths at ito yung hundreds. So nandito dapat yung number 2. Kaso, paano yung hundreds or tenths place value? Hindi pwedeng ilagay dito yung 2 kasi siya ay 2 over 100. So, dapat nakalagay siya sa hundreds place. So, kapag ganyan ang na-encounter nyo, ang unang isusulat ninyo ay 0 and then saka nyo ilalagay ang numerator. So, 2 over 100 is equals to 2 hundredths. Next, example number 3. So, we have 25 over 100. So, once again, unahin ang decimal point and then look at the denominator. So, since over 100 to, ibig sabihin, kailangan natin ng 2 digits. So, unlike dito kanina, kaya tayo naglagay ng 0 kasi 1 digit lang siya. Dito, hindi na natin kailangan maglagay ng 0 kasi we already have the tenths and the hundreds. So, 2 would be on the tenths place value and 5 would be on the hundreds place value. So 25 over 100 is equivalent to 25 hundredths.